Queen Ijele's reign began not with a royal wedding or grand feast, but with a quiet storm of change. She walked through the kingdom without guards, visiting farmers in the fields, listening to women in the market, sitting with children under mango trees. She asked questions no royal had ever asked before. How can I make your lives better? What do you need? What do you fear? Her crown was a simple braid of golden thread and cowrie shells. She still wore her bright wrappers, still laughed from her belly, still danced when the drums called. And yet, she was no longer just Ijele the daughter. She was Ijele the queen. At first, the elders muttered. No husband. No royal blood by marriage. But Queen Ijele proved herself with wisdom sharper than a spear. She stopped the unfair grain tax, rebuilt broken roads, and appointed women as advisors, something no ruler had dared do before. She even opened the palace to the sick and poor once a month, calling it the People's Day. Soon, her name spread far beyond Zamunda. Poets sang of her in distant kingdoms. Children in nearby villages named their dolls Ijele. Traders from the north brought gifts just to catch a glimpse of her. She was no longer a princess rejected for her size, she was a queen admired for her power. But with praise came envy. In the neighboring kingdom of Ufro, King Boko watched with growing irritation. His youngest son had been one of the suitors who mocked Ijele years ago. Now that same son wanted to return to Zamunda and ask for her hand again. You fool, King Boko hissed. She does not need a husband. She is building an empire. And if she continues, Zamunda will outshine us all. So he hatched a plan. King Boko sent word to Queen Ijele, let our kingdoms unite through peace and tradition. Let us hold a contest of strength, wisdom, and leadership between our best warriors and yours. A friendly contest to celebrate your crown. Ijele raised an eyebrow when she read the message. She felt something strange in the wording, but she did not back down. If they want a contest, she said, we shall give them one. The challenge was set. 3 tests would be held over 3 days, one of strength, one of wisdom, and one of heart. Ufro would send their best, and so would Zamunda. Crowds poured into the kingdom. Tents rose, drums beat, fires blazed. Traders set up stalls selling fried plantains, meat skewers, honey drinks, and woven fans. It became the biggest festival Zamunda had ever seen. Day 1, the test of strength. Ufro sent their strongest warrior, a man named Dongo, tall as a palm tree and built like a mountain. Zamunda sent Oma, a woman blacksmith with arms like carved stone and eyes like fire. Many laughed when they saw her. But Oma beat Dongo in 3 clean moves during the wrestling match. She lifted him off the ground and placed him outside the ring like a chicken too big for the pot. The crowd erupted. Day 2, the test of wisdom. A riddle was shared. I speak without a mouth. I hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with wind. What am I? Ufro's chief scholar wrote page after page of theories. Oma simply stepped forward and whispered, an echo. The judges blinked. Correct. Zamunda won again. King Boko's smile began to crack. Day 3, the test of heart. This final test was not a competition. It was a question, given to both sides. If you had 1 throne but 2 people you loved dearly, 1 old, 1 young, and only one could sit on it, who would you choose? The prince from Ufro said, I would choose the young, for they are the future. Oma said, I would build a 2nd throne. The heart makes space for more than one. Queen Ijele smiled. The crowd roared. Even some Ufro guests clapped. It was clear. Zamunda had won. But that night, someone slipped poison into Oma's drink. She survived, but barely. And word quickly spread that it had come from someone inside the Ufro camp. Queen Ijele did not rage. She did not storm into their tent or call for blood. Instead, she called a meeting in the town square. Thousands came. She walked up to the stage, her arms bare, her voice steady. "We have won your contest," she said. "But we do not need your crown. Our strength, our wisdom, and our hearts have spoken for us." She paused. "And yet, you tried to destroy what you could not defeat. You see me now and call me queen, but when I was just a fat girl with a loud laugh, you spat at my name." She pointed to the prince from Euphro, who now stared at the ground in shame. "I am not your second choice," she said. "And I never will be." Then she looked out at her people. "We do not need to shrink to be worthy. We do not need to marry power to hold it. We are enough. In our bodies. In our fullness. In our truth." The crowd erupted again. The next day, King Boko and his men left without a word. And that night, under the stars, as dancers stomped the earth and flutes filled the air, Queen Ijele stood with Oma at her side and whispered, "Let them say what they like. Let them laugh. But we will build something so powerful, they'll one day beg to sit at our table." Oma smiled. "And we'll serve them last." They both laughed. Time passed. Under Queen Ijele's rule, Zamunda blossomed like a flower in full sun. Roads stretched farther, trade flowed richer, and laughter returned to the land. The poor were heard, the forgotten were fed, and the voiceless were seen. But still, one question lingered in the minds of many. Will the queen ever marry? She had turned down countless proposals, some from noblemen, some from warriors, some from smooth-tongued princes who had once mocked her. She smiled politely, but her answer remained the same. "Not if you see me as a prize. Only if you see me as a partner." Then one day, during a rainstorm, a stranger arrived at the palace gates. He was not a prince. He wore no jewels. He rode no horse. Just a small sack slung over his shoulder and mud on his sandals. The guards were ready to send him away, but he asked softly, "Is Queen Ijele receiving guests?" The guards hesitated. The stranger handed them a folded piece of cloth. "Give her this," he said. When the queen received it, she unfolded the cloth and gasped. It was her red scarf, the one she wore the night she left for the sacred forest. She remembered then. The boy at the riverbank. Years ago, when she had first crossed the river on her journey, she had lost her footing in the strong current. A humble herbalist passing by had reached in and pulled her to safety. He gave her water, shared his roasted groundnuts, and helped her find the forest path. She had thanked him and promised to return one day, but in the whirlwind of her journey, she had forgotten. Until now. She called for him at once. When he entered the throne room, he bowed deeply. "Your Majesty." "Rise," she said. "I know you." "I never forgot," he said. "Not your laugh. Not your fire. I didn't come to ask for your hand. Only to return what you left behind." She looked at the scarf in his hands. Then she looked into his eyes, gentle, steady, kind. "Maybe," she said softly, "you've returned something I forgot I gave away." The palace stood still. Weeks later, they were married. Not with parades or banners or speeches, but in the garden under the same moon she once wept beneath. Her husband, Obinna, chose not to wear a crown or take a title. He remained a healer, walking among the people. He loved her not for her throne, but for her truth. And Queen Ijele? She ruled not as the bride of a king, but as the woman who found power in being everything the world told her not to be. Under her reign, young girls were told they could grow wide like the river, laugh loud like thunder, and lead without shrinking. Mothers told their daughters, "You are not too much. The world is simply too small sometimes." Years later, when Queen Ijele passed her crown to her daughter, strong, dark, round like her mother and wise like the stars, she left behind more than just a throne. She left a story. And it began like this. Once upon a time, there was a fat princess no one wanted, until she wanted herself first.